know this, that meteorological drought is only one form of drought. There is also hydrological drought. There is agricultural drought. There is socio-economic drought. In Maharashtra and Telangana, you're seeing the meeting of these different droughts. Each of these expresses a particular universe of drought. But they are now merging. Maharashtra has both a hydrological crisis and a meteorological crisis that's going to make a lot of things a lot worse. But here, since people get so much pleasure in discussing IPL, you know, I look at the indignation of our anchors, including some of my very dear friends, saying, what? IPL? Sugarcane is the real villain. Many of us wrote about that 20 years ago. Okay, we don't need to be have sugarcane identified for us. But please understand, the same criminals, the same characters who are in charge of IPL are in charge of sugarcane. Okay, Mr. Sharad Pawar is the chief of BCCI and he is the grand chief of the sugarcane lobby. Please also don't forget that he was the food and agriculture minister. Okay, the only food and agriculture minister who had a completely secular approach. There was no difference between APL, BPL, IPL. Everything was the same. It was a source of revenue. Okay, so you had Maharashtra. Why Maharashtra? A particular problem. You've had a particular kind of politics in Maharashtra that have added to it. At one time and the same time, we had Mr. S.M.Krishan from Karnataka, based in Bangalore, in Mumbai Raj Bhavan, and traveling 3 to 4 times a week to Bangalore. You had Mr. Vilasrao Deshmukh, you know, may he rest wherever. And you had Mr. Sharad Pawar as agriculture minister. As we used to say in Vidarbha at the time, देखो महाराष्ट्र की हालत, राज्यपाल जो है उसका इंटरेस्ट है नेबरिंग स्टेट, मुख्यमंत्री जो है उसका इंटरेस्ट है रियल एस्टेट, और कृषि मंत्री जो विदर्भा में उनको कहते हैं क्रिकेट मंत्री. Okay, these were the 3 guys presiding over the destinies of the state for some time, especially the latter 2. Now, understand this, everybody can say, you can't count the water on my lawn, it's only such a small amount. I used 20 liters or 30 liters to water, it adds up. The golf as a game golf courses take 1.8 million liters of water per day in season. I'm going to show you some slides. The kind of buildings that are coming up in Mumbai, something about the tanker, the borewell industry also. But I want you to see a single building planned to come up in Borivali, which will have 210 swimming pools. Marathwada builders. This is a twin complex, 37 floors each, a swimming pool on every floor, 2 swimming pools, because they've got 3 to 4 flats on each. They have 3 to 4 flats on each floor. The project is not complete, it's being challenged, there's no water, but when it's completed because it had permission, there will be 210 swimming pools. And here, this is the artist's vision of nightmare. If it's completed, I hope we will see that it is never completed. Mumbai. It's also another view of the Marathwada complex. Apart from the 210 swimming pools or 75 swimming pools, whichever the case. Now you have this as well. But my favorite advertisement on the way to Pune, they removed it after I wrote about it, unfortunately. Oh yeah, this is not that one. Sorry, I'm keeping you delayed with that. This is my hometown of Chennai. We are more refined in culture, so we have only one every third. And yeah, this is my favorite. Luxury homes with an attached forest reserve. In Maharashtra, even the damn tiger doesn't have a forest reserve worth the name. But you have an attached forest reserve. Not very far from where all these how ordinary Indians collect their water. Okay, Maharashtra officially discriminates in the amount of water allocated to every citizen based on rural or urban by law. I have to tell you something about this particular complex. Who are the construction laborers? Okay? Who are the construction laborers in those magnificent buildings that you saw? When I interviewed them, I asked them in the Pune Express Highway, गाँव में कहाँ से आया? हम शेतकरी है सर, छोटा किसान, small marginal farmers and agricultural laborers. गाँव छोड़ के ये काम क्यों कर रहे हैं? पानी तो नहीं है सब गाँव में. So their water has run dry, their fields are like fallow. They come to the cities to build our swimming pools. Now this, by the way, is Miraj. Look at this, is an Adivasi woman. She's piled up 5 stories. She's doing you a national saving by taking water from a leaking municipal pipe. Okay? She's standing on top of 5 stones. She'll stand still for 20 minutes until that fills up, or 10 minutes, depending on the water. Then pour it into another vessel. When both vessels are full, she'll walk home. Home is not very far, it's just a mere 300 meters. But she did that journey 30-40 times. Oh, this is London, by the way. They're trying to mimic us. They have this huge pure glass pool across the whole avenue. So you can swim and wave to all those ordinary people down there in the valley. Now, every day, these women go to 5 or 6 different taps. But wherever she goes, whether she is the first or the second or third, she gets her water last because she is the Dutch. So she is going to get our social and economic inequities reflect perfectly. Water irrigation in this country has a caste geography. Okay, who tills at the headwaters? Who tills at the intermediate waters? And who are those people who have to live outside the village or on the outskirts? Water has a defined caste geography in your country. Anyway, this is her 6th stop as she was telling us when we took this picture. On the road now in Marathwada, every vehicle, every cycle will be like this. At least 60 to 80 liters of water you have to carry. And every family member takes turns. One day you don't go to work because you're supposed to fetch water. This is Drought, Osmanabad, Takmiki village, with whom I stayed. Is a Dalit farmer doing small sugarcane farm. He spends 800 to 1000 rupees a month on petrol to collect water from the one tap that's working, which is on his field. So he's paying over 1000 rupees a month to collect his own water. Every site, every vehicle, every car, every auto will be like this. But now let's go to the other side. This is, I'm very pleased to say that I got this closer. Fun and Food Village, Nagpur, in 2005. That's a snow dome. It spends billions of units of electricity to create snow so that you can frolic while the temperature outside is 47 degrees. The snow making machine was imported from Japan. The village panchayat of Bazar Gaon gave the land for which the village panchayat got 45,000 a year, which is less than 1 day's gate fees at the Fun and Food Village Entertainment Park. Fun and Food Village is a Delhi company. Wrote about it in the Hindu, and then there was some protest in the assembly and all that, and then it wound up. Look inside. That skating rink is maintained at minus 13 degrees. It takes 50,000 units of electricity in a week or something to maintain that temperature. Now look inside Maharashtra. That child is putting his hand down both ways, looking for any water that might come up. He sits there until he fills those two. And these are the huge, spiritual corporation parks, artificial lakes which have taken millions of liters of public water and then gone dry. This is in Buldana. Okay, as I said, a tanker can even be a very small metal contraption, but that isn't even the autos. Anyway, that was the point, that you really need to look at the inequality. The last part that I want to come to is that do not think that this is a question of good monsoon or bad monsoon. Your agricultural crisis is growing. There are huge numbers of factors. Inequality has grown like never before 15 individuals own more than the wealth owned by half your population. 40 individuals, 100 individuals own more than 2/3 of your population. You can take the NSS decile-wise data and compare it with Forbes billionaires data and with this Credit Suisse data. That's what it shows you. Okay. Also, in agriculture, in agroecological terms, in agroclimatic terms, take two of the areas that are in serious trouble. Anantapur, Rayalaseema, the Anantapur, Tirupati, Kadapa, Kurnool, and take Telangana. The Rayalaseema region 40-50 years ago was covered in millets. In the last 25-30 years, we have commercialized it with groundnut and cotton. Very different water economy. Telangana, we have commercialized it with cotton and high water consuming BT cotton. So again, you have replaced a number of things with huge water guzzling agricultural activity that is going to land you deeper and deeper in trouble. It doesn't matter if the monsoon is good for the next 3 years, you are still in trouble. You don't see the trouble because we are better off. As my friend in the MKSS told me in Rajasthan 20 years ago, Bhilon, he was talking about the poor Bhils. गरीबों के घर में अकाल हमेशा रहते हैं. गरीबों के घर में अकाल हमेशा रहते हैं. About 8 people this morning quoted the title of my book, Everybody Loves a Good Drought. That title was inspired by a Bihari farmer called Ram Lakhan. In my innocence, that time Jharkhand, Bihar were all one. I landed in Latehar, Palamu. Nobody was present. No collector, no sub-collector, no... there it should have been a CO and a BDO and a... Bihari, I was just beginning to get accustomed to Bihari humor. When I asked for the BDO, they said, oh, you want block the development officer. Because until he gets his 25%, nothing will happen. Then I said, yeah, sab log kahan gaya Ram Lakhan ji? He didn't smile. He said, वो लोग सब चले गए सब वो तीसरी फसल लाने के लिए. मैं तो I was completely bewildered by that. Rabi, Kharif, and about 150 years ago एक और था ना, Zaid, क्या था वो? Zaid, ना. तो मैंने कहा राम लखन जी, मैं रबी तो जाता हूँ, खारिफ तो जाता हूँ, ये तीसरी फसल कौन सा चीज़ है? ड्राउट रिलीफ. तीसरी फसल लेने के लिए गया, सब पूरा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन has gone. All your dams, tanks, rivers are being in the process of privatized. The management is being privatized. Chhattisgarh was the first state in the country to do it with 23 kilometers of the Shionath river. Maharashtra had an act, a bill in assembly which was blocked by resistance to privatize the management of dams. That's the fourth point. You are looking at the backdoor privatization of water in your country. What do you want? Is water a human right? Is it a fundamental right? Water and sanitation. Water and sanitation. I felt so ashamed. On April 13th, the day before Baba Saheb's anniversary, I came to Delhi. There were 125 Safai Karamchari families from all over the country. Every member of that family, every family had lost one member in septic tanks, in manholes to death. I looked up, Paul Divakar gave me the numbers. Government of India says there are 2 to 3 lakh Safai Karamcharis and it costs 3 lakhs per Safai Karamchari to rehabilitate them, bring them out of that profession and close that profession. 3 lakhs, 3 people is 9,000 crores. Vijay Mallya got more than that. We should put him in charge of the sanitation program. He's prepared to give back half of it, right? So, I'm saying just look at the absolute disconnect between where the money and the resources are needed. You are not looking at just a rural-urban divide. You're looking at a gigantic class divide within the city where 0.1% of the population is cornering most of the water. Is water a fundamental right? All the editorials appearing in the newspapers, I forgot to give my little bashing to the Times, which again I will say has done the cutting edge reporting on the crisis. 3 editorials have appeared. The answer is rational pricing. Who's rational? Who's pricing? Does it mean the rational pricing means that you cannot drink water, you should just lie down and die? What about a set of priorities? Drinking water comes first. So many liters per person. This is a inalienable human right. What about priorities? Hospitals, schools, educational institutions, Anganwadis. You have a priority list and then decide what you will do with the water that remains, if any remains. Okay. We are not looking at the water as an arena of Indian inequality, and I maintain that it is the single biggest arena of Indian inequality. Through the 80s and 90s, the World Bank and the IMF changed their loan agreements to include water privatization as a conditionality. Please let me read you a hilarious World Bank report written in 2004 before the election, comes out in 2005 after the election, but they are very stupid people. They don't notice the change. They don't notice what has happened. They wrote a big report. Rules for principled pragmatism and rules for reformers. Rule number 12. Reforms must provide returns for the politicians who are willing to make changes. Certainly, it has proved politically very beneficial to bring in such progressive reforms, has proved very beneficial to Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, who 1 month after that report was written was defeated on the issue of water, farmer suicides and water issues. I was present in 2001 when Mr. Wolfenson came down, World Bank president, to inaugurate the Koel Sagar Dam. That the rage of the 90s was water users associations. You don't hear much of that now, no? Water users associations primarily meant the rich farmers of an area who would corner that water with their superior bargaining power. I love this word, water users. What are the rest of us? Dryland bacteria. I mean, we don't need water. So Mr. Wolfenson came to inaugurate the dam, but you know what happened? Tens of thousands of angry non-users showed up, who are the local Kisans. They chased Mr. Wolfenson. His helicopter took off just in time, and they chased them down the highway. Cases are still pending on those farmers of the Kisan Sabha in Telangana. Anyway, but if the mountain, if Mohammed could not go to the mountain had to go to Mohammed. So they took Mr. Wolfenson, they took the plaque out of the dam, flew it 5 kilometers into the jungle, constructed a helipad, and inaugurated the Water Users Association. The genuine water users was the wildlife in the jungle. They were, I don't know whether they were watching the ceremony or not. Learn from this. One of the smallest countries in the world, called Uruguay, 2004 had a referendum, can water be privately owned? The population overwhelmingly voted against it. Uruguay's government fell previously. Governments all over Latin America fell on the Bechtel water issue in Colombia. In Uruguay, they passed a referendum with a 3/4 majority or a 2/3 majority. Water can never be privately owned in Uruguay. The water plants of the state cannot be privately owned. Now, in drought, as I said, you have various other forms of drought, and the impacts of this I don't have the time to go through. Here are the things that you can do. And I'm happy to answer questions or anything else. I haven't covered a lot of stuff in the agrarian crisis and the water problem there. Please look, if you look at the 5 states that account for the maximum number of farm suicides, I'm not saying water was the main reason. I believe suicides are a complex business. There are maybe 8-10 factors, out of which 2 or 3 are very central, like indebtedness. Water is one important factor. If you look at the 5 states, Maharashtra, richest state in the country, highest number of farm suicides, 63,000 plus. Okay. Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. There is a geographical contiguity from there as you come down, all the way. Which district of Kerala had all the huge numbers of farmer suicides? Wayanad, the toenail of the Western Ghats. So this Western Ghats region is ecologically fragile. The green revolution kind of agriculture has sucked the water out of its bowels. Okay? You are in serious trouble. And we have also poisoned that water in many ways with the kind of agriculture we are doing. You are running Indian agriculture on steroids. That's what we're doing. And what happens to you? You perform brilliantly as an athlete if you take steroids, and 5-10 years later you perform exactly the opposite. You could end up dying. That's what we're doing with Indian agriculture. Now, if you look at those 5 states, you'll see within those 5 states its particular regions again, which are most stressed. Those are all places where you have used heavy use of groundwater, very heavy use of stream water, and very little storage of rainwater. So today I'm not going to tell you about solutions because many far more competent people who are actually doing it spoke in the morning. That's fine. You can go back and listen to what they said if you missed it. But number one, you decide now, is water a human right, a fundamental right, or is it a commodity? Are you going to privilege corporations and profit above communities and people? Uruguay gives me the answer. Okay. Are you going to say that rational pricing means who can afford water gets it, or are we going to say that everybody has to get, that it is not charity, it is not sending a train to Latur, it is the right of the child of Latur? What rational pricing will you adopt for her? What rational pricing will you adopt for that girl who is, by the way, dropping out of school because every day she goes to the riverbed and collects water from the riverbed? What rational pricing are you talking about? Okay. So is water a commercial good or is it a fundamental right? And by the way, I also want to insist, it's not a fundamental human right, it's a right of millions of other species on your planet. Now look at what policy does. Please don't think that the people of Marathwada are only hit by rain. They are hit by the government of Maharashtra in extending the beef ban from cow slaughter to bulls and bullocks also. You know the result of that? Extending the cow slaughter ban to bulls and bullocks has meant a complete loss of hides for the Kolhapur industry, which was an international brand name long before Mr. Modi came with his Make in India. And they can't get hides now. Who is getting hurt? The idea was to hurt the damn Muslims, right? They're very crushed. But so are the Marathas and OBCs who control the cattle markets, the Marathas who are farmers, who cannot sell their cows and are watching, are selling their cow, they can't sell their cows, they can't, because anywhere you're taking your cow out, look at what happened to the guy in Jharkhand. The cattle market prices have fallen by 60%. An IAS probationer is trained that when the cattle market prices collapse by 30%, there is a crisis. Now they're down by 60% because you can't sell. Nobody wants to buy because you can't later get rid of that cow when it's no longer productive. And when hides are being imported from Krompet in Chennai, you know, Tamil Nadu has the Krompet area, from the vans are being attacked and burned in Karnataka and Maharashtra border by our good old friends. Right? So, and by the way, for 2 weeks, the lions and tigers of Bombay Zoo ate chicken because of the beef ban. Yeah, they actually did that. It was a big story on BBC TV. Now, this kind of insane policy making on the basis of hatred, on the basis of communal polarization, has devastated the Dalits of Kolhapur who make the damn shoes. The Dalits are hurt, the Marathas are. There is one thing it has to be said for the BJP government of Maharashtra. Its damage has been impeccably secular. There is nobody who has got away with, has survived them. So please decide, guys, are you going to accept water as a commodity to be bought and sold by Coke and Pepsi, who get the water for 5 paise to 25 paise a litre? Remember, the beer factories of Marathwada, do you know what price they are getting that water at? It's stuck in the 1980s and is said to be between 5 and 10 paise per litre. Okay? Are we going to accept that water is a commodity to be sold, or that human beings and species and livestock have first right over drinking water. Then we can talk about the irrigation. Second, are we going to accept the major diversions that are taking place? 5 farmers in Mawal, Western Maharashtra were shot dead when they protested the diversion of their water to Pimpri Chinchwad. When their water was taken to Pimpri Chinchwad, farmers in Mawal in Western Maharashtra protested, 5 of them were shot dead. Are we going to loot this resource and break with the principle of right of first use to those who live in a place and divert water elsewhere on the name of water markets, which have now emerged in a gigantic way? Okay. Your call. Thank you.